Hello to all of you. We're so glad you came our way. We hope our time with you will be a blessing and increase your understanding of the Bible. If you would like to donate and help grow this ministry, please check the options below. And folks, we will send you a free copy of our booklet, Training Your Children in the Way They Should Go. Thank you so much. And now let's enjoy some questions and answers from the Bible. Hello out there. We're so glad you found us, and we welcome you to the Truth Shall Make You Free ministry. Now, I'm Dick Ellis, and my wife Nancy. She and I have been married for just over 60 years, and this is 2020. How about that? We're speaking to you from our country chapel on our small farm near the town of Ottumwa, Iowa. And guess what? We've lived here for just over 50 years. Another milestone. We both went to college and seriously studied the scriptures and got our diploma. So it is our interest for sure to help others know what the Bible has to say for them, for each of us. So now we offer the Truth Shall Make You Free ministry that we hope can be a blessing to you, and you can pass it on. So we want to help you know your Bible, help you discover truth, and we're going to do this in several ways. And one way is that we will ask Bible questions and hesitate a bit, and Nancy will give the answer. We'll cover several books, but we will start with the book of Genesis, and I think that's a good beginning place. And you might read ahead a few chapters and then come back to this site and see how you do. We plan to ask the questions, give a few comments with the answers. And you see if you can answer correctly before Nancy does. If you need a little time, I suppose you could punch pause and see how you do. Some questions will be easy, some will be difficult, some will just be, I guess. So, are you ready? We are. So here we go with the very first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. Chapter 1, starting with verse 1. What did God create in the beginning?
Well, He created the heavens and the earth.
Yes, that verse that's memorized by nearly every Sunday school student. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Next, was the Spirit of God present at the creation?
Yes, He was.
Yes. What was created the first day?
Night and day.
Night and day. A lot could be said about this as we go along, but I guess just to know what happened each day is adequate. What does firmament mean?
Well, it means expansion.
Expansion. Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain all
What
that.
did God call that firmament?
Heaven.
Heaven. So that would be the expanse over us as we look into the heavens. What did God create the second day?
That's when He divided the waters.
Divided the waters. Can you imagine the tumult that was taking place when all this happened? What day was land and vegetation created?
That was the third day.
Third day. scooting right along, what was created on the fourth day?
The sun, the moon, the stars, and the seasons.
Yep. What was created the fifth day?
That's when the fish and the fowl.
That's when the fillets began. What was God's command to these?
He said, be fruitful and multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply.
He wanted more of them.
Get ready for the frying pan. What was God's creative work the sixth day?
That's when he created the cattle and a man.
Man.
Or,
That was the crowning creation.
okay.
Yes, indeed. We don't have a lot of questions over chapter 1, but let's kind of finish them out here. Was man to have dominion?
Yes?
He was to have dominion.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Whose likeness was man made?
He was made in the likeness of God.
Likeness of God.
I like that.
Likeness of God. We don't know what all that's involved here, but I think that's quite satisfying. Anyway, what was God's command to man?
Well, God says now, since there was a man and a woman, he says, I want you to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue the earth and have dominion over it.
Quite an assignment.
Yeah, don't just be the two of you. Have some kids.
A woman would think of that, wouldn't she? To man, what did God give?
Everything he needed.
Everything he needed. Now, you know very well that God does things just right. So, that's the way he did it. What was God's attitude toward his creation at this time?
It was very good. He
Very
liked it.
good. You know, even humans can do some very fine accomplishments. And you have to know that when God gets done with something, it's going to be good. And it has been good. What was the names of the people created?
One man named Adam, one woman named Eve.
Eve. What does the name Adam mean?
Well, I didn't know it, but I had to find out. It means red dust.
Yeah. Can you remember that? Since there's so few questions, let's go to chapter 2 of Genesis. What did God, what day did God end his work and sit back on his throne?
The seventh day.
Seventh day. They say God rested. Well, I doubt that he was too exhausted. What do you think? Did God bless and sanctify the seventh day at this time?
Yes.
Yeah. Was the seventh day to be a day kept yet at this time?
No.
No. Now that didn't happen until years later with Moses at Mount Sinai. Had it rained upon the face of the earth?
Not yet.
Not yet. What was it that had watered the earth, however?
It had a mist-like
A
covering.
mist or a vapor?
Yeah.
Kind of like we do our gardens, I suppose, sometimes. Of what was man formed?
He came out of the dust of the ground.
Yeah, dusty old fellow, wasn't he? I suppose that made it easy for man to return to dust when it came time. Whatever. Where did man get his life and how was it obtained?
Well, they got their life from God because God breathed into their nostrils the breath of life.
Yes. And this is an interesting beginning for man. God breathed into man. Now the Hebrew for that God breathed is neshama hayim, and it has a divine touch to it because God did it. And that's why when God breathed into Adam the breath of life, that was his spirit, or we commonly call it the soul. This is mentioned 24 times in relationship to God and man, and never in relationship to animal. So this was a special something that happened. Man was a formation of dust, and for that to come alive, God breathed into his nostrils. You might read some scriptures like Zechariah 12:1, or maybe Ecclesiastes 3:21, or 12:7, and even 1 Samuel 20 verse 3. And these verses will help you realize that man was special. You and I are special because we have within us something that's special. The breath of life, the spirit, the soul that God gave to us. And that soul lives on, just like we notice in Luke 9 that Moses and Elijah talked with Jesus in his lifetime. Those men were still in existence and had a soul just like this beginning soul, the neshama hayim, the breath of life. Interesting. Where was, let's see, what were God's special preparations for man?
Well, he prepared a wonderful garden for them to live in,
A beautiful garden.
where we'd have everything they needed.
I've been asked, is this just a story or is it real? I believe it's real.
Oh, I do too.
Where was the garden located?
Eastward in Eden.
Yes. What two trees special were planted in the garden?
They each had a name. One was called the tree of life, and one was the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yes. Very important trees. What watered the garden?
A river.
A river. I suppose a mist flowed from those rivers. How many heads did the river have?
Well, that's interesting. There were 4 heads to that.
4
river.
heads. You want to name them?
Well, I can read them. I'll call them Pison, Gisham, Hikkel. What was that?
Hiddekel.
Okay. And Euphrates.
Euphrates. Pison, Gihon, Hiddekel, Euphrates. Got that memorized? No, not yet. We'll remember the Euphrates. It comes up quite often. Man was put in the garden for what purpose?
Well, it says to dress it, but that was to keep it.
Understandable, God was a caretaking God. What was God's one command?
He said, do not eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah. Watch your step. Whenever there's a parent and a child, a God and a human being, there's always instructions to keep. We would do well to keep them well, right? What was the punishment for disobedience?
Oh, it was death.
Afraid so. When God said it wasn't good for man to be alone, what title did God place on the woman?
He called her a helpmeet.
Yes, a helping person with the husband. What did Adam do for every fowl and beast?
Well, he gave them all a name. Can you
Gave them
imagine
a name.
that?
Can you imagine that? Of course, there weren't all the different ones as we have today, but there would still be quite a number. And so God at this point caused Adam to do what?
He put him to sleep.
Put him to sleep. That's a good thing to do. I like a nap, don't you? We're getting close to the end of this second chapter, so get ready to stop, I guess. Next, out of what was the woman formed?
Adam's rib.
Adam's rib. I don't know if he ever missed that. I suppose God took good care of it. Why was the female given the name of woman?
Because she came from man.
She came from Adam. What did God say concerning the husband and wife?
Well, he said to leave the mother and the father and cleave to one another.
Now this is interesting because at this point there was no mother or father, just Adam and Eve. But of course this was setting the stage for civilization on into the future, and it's still true today. Oh my, the last question of chapter 2. Were Adam and Eve clothed?
Nope.
Not at this point, because there was complete innocency, just like our little children. And it would have been nice to stay that way. And this is quite a truth to remember, to learn and remember, because we have a conscience. And we need to live a life that's pure and holy before God, just like He describes for us in the Scriptures. So we want to learn the Scriptures, and it's these Scriptures that will make us free. So read ahead, and we'll be back shortly.